Town Band Banter with Doc and Dave. Every week, two longtime friends and colleagues in the world of music, David Price and Donald Doc Smith, get together to discuss the triumphs as well as the twists and turns of lifelong learning for the dedicated members of thousands of civilian community music ensembles of every shape and size. Your comments and suggestions are always welcomed through email as info@townbandbanter.com, Facebook, Town Band Banter, and Instagram, #TownBandBanter. And now for our hosts, Doc and Dave.
You ready?
Are we starting?
I think so. So, you know, we are season
ready.
3, winding down season 3. We maybe one more episode. And
Is it winding down or winding
we'll
down?
find out next episode. Something to tune in for.
Great
That's
to be
right.
here. And this is Hawaiian shirt day. May I say how lovely you look in your Hawaiian shirt?
Well, I did buy it in Maui, but
Yeah.
it's just more a floral kind of thing between us, not planned at all.
I think mine looks better because of who's stuffed inside it.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, is this a
No.
consensus kind of thing,
Yeah.
or is just, you know, your
Right.
own opinion?
But we
Do
do.
polls on the podcast.
Your dress is very Hawaiian looking. I like it. Works very well.
Summertime.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're here on the campus of University of Rhode Island
Yeah.
and at a music therapy center and that services statewide. And we're here with the founder, Nicole O'Malley. And we're going to get a perspective on that. And also, she happens to be, you told me earlier, right before, you're a clarinet player.
Yeah.
So you have some
Yeah.
experience with bands. This is all about bands and community bands and how this does it. And I just have this feeling we're doing music therapy with band members, but it'd be neat to make some more of those connections today.
Sure.
And that's I was hoping that's one thing, and I'm sure we go off on tangents. We'll be doing a
All
lot
the
of different
time.
things as we go. But why don't we start with, can you give us your background? Like, how'd you get yourself into this?
Yeah, so I'm Nicole, and I founded Hands in Harmony in 2003. I found out about music therapy when I was in 8th grade. My band director said at the time, see, bands going back, bring it back,
Yeah.
you can do anything you want, pick 2 of your favorite things, and we can make those into a career. And just to be difficult, I was like, but I have 3 things. And
Of course.
obviously. And I said, okay, what are the things? And I said, I love music, obviously. I love people, but I know I don't want to teach, now says the professor, but my 8th grade self.
Now you're stuck.
Now I'm
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
I loved psychology and AP Psych and working with different people, more in the psych realm. And then I love the ocean. So he
wow.
said, right? And so he was like, okay, you can either do marine biology and maybe study some acoustic sound patterns, or you could do music therapy and live by the ocean. And I was like, wait, music therapy? I've never heard of that before.
Right.
So that kind of started, once I started looking into it, I was like, oh my gosh, this totally fits. This is me. This is what I want to do. So from then on, I knew. So I graduated. I went to Anna Maria College for my undergraduate degree. I graduated. I'm from Rhode Island originally, and I lived at home, and I was looking at job opportunities, and there really weren't any in music therapy at the time. And so I was looking at moving out of state and decided I started sending my resume out to a bunch of places and not really getting a lot of hits. So I started looking at grad school in New York and maybe going somewhere else.
Right.
And I ended up getting 2 clients that reached out, and I started seeing these 2 clients, and apparently later on they told me they ended up being a huge proponent behind building a caseload, and it was really all word of mouth because my plan wasn't to stay in Rhode Island. And she said at the time, one of the moms said, well, we knew that you cared enough about our kids that if we built enough of a case for you, you wouldn't leave.
Stay.
And that's happened.
Don't
We've-
put the guilt on you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, and we've had some ebbs and flows, you know. It was a newer service. It's not a new field. It was around, we've been around since the 50s. That's when the degree programs all started.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but did they all
nationally.
kind of grow together, the arts and therapy? Did that all kind of step at the same
This
time?
one started around World War II, so when
Oh, okay.
veterans it was around with PTSD. So that's
Yep.
how music
Oh, right.
therapy
Makes sense.
really started and
Yep.
formed and was formalized. It's really been around since forever.
Yep.
If you think about the earliest known artifact is a bone flute, right? So
Sure.
using music for healing and therapeutic purposes, and music, you talked about community bands, right? Music was
Right.
a social determinant of health. It's how people bonded. It's where those
Right.
social connections came from. Music therapy, I think, takes some of those concepts and principles, and then we apply them into kind of different places, right? So we're looking at music for non-music goals. That's what music therapy at its most basic foundation is. So our goal is, it's always non-music, but we're using music as our means to achieve that non-music goal. So for us, we might be looking at forming a performance-based group so we can work on social isolation. And yes, we want the quality of the group, but our goal is to accept diverse members and to have that social connection in that moment. Or it might be communication goals that we're working on, or motor goals that we're working on, or behavior goals, kind of in that social, emotional, or cognitive goals, memory, cognition, learning new things. So our goals are non-music, with music as a means or vessel to achieve them.
Wow, fantastic. So the two things that jumped out, non-music mean non-performing, right? They're not performing musicians.
No,
What do you mean by non-music?
Yeah.
Because
Our
there's
goals
no
aren't
one that's
musical.
like that. Yeah.
Not non-musical, because
Right.
music, 98.5% of the population, music is innate, and the other 1.5 have a condition called amusia, which is extremely rare,
Right.
and it's the inability to process rhythm and beat. Otherwise, music's innate, and there's some amazing kind of examples and videos and research that shows newborn babies who can process beat omissions, sleeping newborn babies, 3 days old, you can see brain changes through EEG.
No matter how
That's fascinating.
hard
Yeah.
school committees try to cut it out of
I know.
Yeah, tell me
it's the
about
first
that.
thing to go, and yet it's the one that connects everyone. You know,
Right,
like
and
everyone
the
in
brain
school.
changes are, you can really work on in 0 to
Right.
7, when brains are changing so
Right.
much and so rapidly. Access to music instruction is still working on some of those foundational brain changes that might help support math skills, language skills, reading skills.
Right,
So
Right.
yeah,
And then the other one with PSDD, turning bomb booms into bass drum booms, you know?
Sure,
And other
sure,
things, you know?
sure.
How to make that connection that it's okay, it may not be a bad boom.
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
generalization, it's working through the emotional processing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it's a lot easier to say, like if I say to somebody, okay, you're really struggling, is it easier to say, tell me how you feel? Or if I say, hey, can you go get a song? Can you go find a song that maybe shows or relates to how you're feeling, and then let's rewrite that song, and then maybe let's write some other songs. It can be kind of an easier access. It's just another road to access
Cool.
some of those supports.
Wow. But back to community bands. How does this
Sure.
fit with community? Because what got us doing this right from the beginning is we saw people struggling with things in bands as we got older too, and wondered how we could help with that. You know, like in an entertaining kind of way. So
Yeah,
that's what
we,
we're trying to do.
Both of us
Gotta
have
turn this thing
dealt
off.
with, where you have a band situation where you have kids that have only been playing a few years.
Sure.
And you have people that are in their 80s or so, starting to cognitively decline a little bit. And how do you put them together?
Yeah.
How do you work them together? And we've talked quite a bit about that, is how do you deal with this type of music situation where you're trying to do something together, but A is not necessarily connecting with B, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
In ability and age.
Right,
It's just,
right.
it's tricky. It
I
really
think,
is.
and that's a gap in the music world that I see, that intergenerational kind of performance, and then having a range of abilities, and then also neurodiversity. So we have clients that struggled in schools because they were placed in the band, but they have perfect pitch. Well, have you ever heard a 5th grade band, right? Like, I mean, you have to start somewhere,
Right,
but
right.
that is not where you're gonna
We
go
both
if you
gone through
have
it, yeah.
perfect pitch and struggle
Right.
with, or something called hyperacusis, which is very sensitive to sound and
Right, yeah,
changes,
right,
right?
right.
And so if the client
Autism,
struggles,
right?
sure.
Yeah.
But then if you're in the band and then they don't maybe participate well, or
Right.
they're not, that doesn't mean they don't need music. It means that's not the right music for that person. That might not be the right
Right.
placement for that person. It's not necessarily no music, it's just not that music.
Right.
So having different opportunities for different people, I think sometimes diversifying, and it is difficult. I'm not a band director by choice, right? And I respect and honor those who are. It's not an easy road. Any of the career paths in music can come
Sure.
with bumps, and that's tricky, but I really think that access point in community bands is where we would see so much change, so much societal change, because you're bridging intergenerational gaps, neurodiverse gaps, and music really has the power to do a lot of
Lifelong
that.
learning.
Yeah,
Redefine.
yeah.
And we always talked
Sure.
about that. This is something you can do for your whole life.
Right,
Football, not so much.
sure.
You know,
Sure.
tennis, maybe a little bit more, you know? Pickleball, it depends if people are getting injured,
Yeah, yeah.
extending that, but in athletics, it's kind of limited, but with music, you can do it your whole life. And particularly folks that have now lost a lot of their cognitive ability and yet they could sing 5 verses of a song they learned as a kid.
We
Sure.
were talking about that in those sessions I was doing. I was absolutely amazed at people with pretty severe
When you were doing your drum sessions,
right,
okay, yeah.
pretty severe memory impairment, and couldn't put a sentence together.
Right.
And then you're sitting there, you're drumming and singing with them, and all of a sudden they're singing right along with everybody else.
Right.
And it's all there. And she was saying that, Nicole, I'm sorry, was
no.
saying that where all that is stored is still, it's different. So can you explain a little bit of that?
A little bit, yeah. It's
how
complex
that
because
works?
the brain is complicated.
Yeah, right,
but,
I understand.
but
You don't know everything about the
and-
brain?
Let's see, we have,
Well,
I'd like to,
That's
It's
what
a
I'm-
3-hour session.
My PhD that I'm completing is in neuroscience. It's
Right.
in neuroscience with music as my dissertation focus, but it's interdisciplinary neuroscience. Part of my research has evolved from my seeing clients struggle and really wanting to understand why, and then starting the degree program at URI so we have more training, and then also looking and saying, okay, there really needs to be more mechanisms that help us understand why people can sing and not, and there has been robust research, and part of it is that music isn't processed in the same way as language. It has parallel centers, but it's not exactly the same. So it can help us access, again, that's that non-musical area, right? Access things that we struggle to access without music. So it's just another road. And so sometimes it helps create a detour. If you think of your brain as a road, it helps create a detour around a damaged area. Other times it helps access, that area might be damaged, but music can kind of help rebuild some of that network in that damaged area. Sometimes it helps grow or change the brain a little bit, neuroplasticity, so we're trying to change the brain a little. And then what's really cool is when you do those skills, so say you're singing and you struggle to speak, well, sometimes you can learn to regain speech, like after a stroke maybe, through singing, and then you're not walking around like your life is a musical. You then pick up on a fairly typical speech pattern. We don't train opera sentences.
Sure, right.
But we really work
I
at-
want eggs today.
Exactly, but isn't that
It
better?
works.
Exactly. If you can use music to kind of make some of those
Yeah,
requests, why
Lisa
not?
would throw an egg across the room and hit me. You know, like that's fantastic.
That's fascinating.
What made me agree exactly with you, but never really think of it that way.
With me.
When I started as a choir director, first of all, raised a Catholic, but I was smart enough. My father was Methodist. They already sing 4 parts. Yeah, so I'll be the choir director there. They already know that. But I realized that they weren't reading the music at all. They were only looking at the words.
Yeah.
So during rehearsals, we didn't use any of the lyrics.
Right.
We had other syllables or even la 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 or whatever, sing your part to that. And it forced them to look at the notation for the first time.
Sure.
And they really rapidly learned how to read notation. Faster than I thought that would happen, so it's interesting that it really is 2 separate things, but you need to know which one isolating and then practice that way.
Yeah.
So many things about neurology, and then the other one is you're going to practice that over and over again until you get it right. So the punishment is practicing and playing your instrument. No, that's not what we want. Like if I forgot my instrument, well, that means you can't play today. Even though it's the dress rehearsal, that's really going to hurt everyone here. But the reward is getting to play your instrument. So I think all these neurological pathways, I don't think I expressed it that way, but, along the way, but that's certainly what I was thinking. Almost went into music therapy myself.
Yeah.
And it was maybe there was like a second wave of it. Sister Miriam Pfeiffer joined, she had been a president of the Music Therapy National Organization for a short while after she came to Marywood University when I was there. And she had everyone fired up about doing music therapy. And then, I say the second wave, because then there was a wave of all these people that went into it. And then there was a budget crisis. Last people hired are the first people to go. So then there are all these music therapists where you were describing to us that there was nowhere to go. So you created your own way to go. And that's what they started doing too.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny how it does go in waves for anyone thinking about something like this. It's
one of the things that got me interested in it, I was reading the books Oliver Sacks, and the connection of music there. And
it's your fun reading.
And I just found it fascinating. I just did. And they really,
is wonderful.
music feeling is really good. So I get interested in that, but one of the things, to jump back a little bit, one of the things that I found really interesting was do a music session with a memory care section, okay? And I'd come back maybe a month. I'd come back again, do it again in a month. And the people they were always very friendly and everything, very, very, very receptive, but obviously did not remember anything until you put the drum in front of them. All of a sudden, they're playing rhythms that they learned last time. How did that happen? Like you were saying, finding a way to make a connection. They might not be aware of it or have the same connection ability that you do or that they used to have, but it's still there. There's still a way of finding it.
Well, and you can make a memory without being aware that you're making a memory.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's different types of memory. That's a whole other course in neuroscience.
Well,
but
we actually talked about that with it. Now, you said you're at Brown, right?
I'm doing I'm at URI getting my PhD, but it's using the MRI at Brown. So I'm using MRI for music preference, and we're looking at people's brains while they listen to music they love and music they don't like, to see what kinds of changes we see, and we're kind of rating and equating based on familiarity and preference, because we don't all experience music the same, right? So one song, if I play one song right now, anywhere, if we go to the quad at URI and play a song, everyone's going to interact or have a different experience with that very same piece of music. And so what I feel a drive to research is why that happens, because that's what's going to improve our mechanisms for music therapy. Like, we need the right music for the right outcome, for the right results. How do we get the right music if we don't know where those connections are for music we love? Maybe it's not always music we love. Maybe sometimes music we don't like fires things up that we need. So go for it. I'll take that not good music that's going to help me achieve my non-music goals. And then it's also about looking at, and I'm working with a research team there, and some of the interest is around brain mapping. So understanding the brain through music, because music offers us mechanisms to understand the brain that other modalities don't, right? It's so interdisciplinary and so vast in how it accesses brain. It's very multisensory. So there are areas that don't typically turn on together that come on together with music. So really understanding the brain and how the brain works.
And the reason I brought up Brown is one of our previous guests was Julie Roth. Have you run into her?
I know of her.
Her experience and her thing was epilepsy, but not children. Actually, her specialty is really older female, epilepsy. And I asked her that question about that, because we started talking about mapping and everything else, and how holistic music is, unlike almost everything else. And I said, well, with epilepsy, sometimes you're going to have to take a little piece of the brain out.
Right.
When it goes bad.
Right.
What happens to performing musicians when you do that? And she said, not much. Not much, because the rest of it just picks up the load. The rest of the brain just joins in and says, "Oh, we'll take care of it."
Right, it's that reroute around the traffic pattern thing that we were talking about, right? So you have that damaged area or removed area, and the brain goes, "All right, I guess we're gonna have to go this way." Not all the areas of the brain can do that.
No, right. So what we were after with this whole podcast is kind of like the difference between what you do and what we do. What I do is put in a lot of variety and levels and styles and everything else into the repertoire. The secret to success in doing anything with a performing group is the repertoire for your audience and for every aspect. So it's very important to have that right, and then try to have a mix. So in a way, we're going to get at everyone's perspective, or what do you say, preference? Everyone's preference eventually along the way, and hopefully broaden that as we go on. But what you do is you say, here's the outcome I want for that, and then find a pathway to that by very specific treatments, right? And I wonder if there's any way to connect those even more for music educators, that we could be doing things not just in a community band, but probably in the elementary band. We probably already are. We just haven't verbalized it.
Yeah, I think and then also having more training. I think that's where the URI program came up for me, having stronger training models and mechanisms in place for music therapy, because we didn't have any music therapy in Rhode Island, so we needed to start. That's why we started that program. In 2020 is when it launched, and so the clinic had been established since 2003, and we went from private practice to LLC to Inc. and then nonprofit, and then the training program. And now I think the next phase would be to offer like specialty trainings and certifications for different music professionals that combine our experiences, so those music education experiences can be more diverse, more inclusive. They get the background and training from music therapists maybe around how do I work with somebody with a physical limitation? How do you teach instruments to somebody who might only have one arm but they want to learn to play the saxophone? And there are actually ways to do that, right? So how do you adapt the instrument? How do you meet those clients who have perfect pitch? You give them access to instruction, but maybe that band class isn't the right placement. So what does that look like?
Get a French horn, put him in the corner.
Right.
No. We tried that with you, and it's just not working out.
Crap.
So I think there's overlap, and I think with anything there can be more overlap as things become less siloed. I think my answer and part of the mission of the clinics was interdisciplinary. So the more interdisciplinary we are, the more access and the better improved everyone's opportunities are going to be for all fields.
Now, so you're instructing now, you're a professor, right?
Yes.
So what courses, is there a program here at the university?
Yes,
Okay,
so
what
we
is that?
started
And
the
when did that
program in
start?
2020.
Okay,
We
yeah.
started founding the program in 2016.
Yeah.
So it took 4 years
That was
because it's a
fast.
state institution.
Yeah, sure,
For a state
it takes
institution,
a
that's
long
pretty quick.
time, yeah.
So we went through the full accreditation
Fantastic.
and we launched fall of 2020.
Yeah.
And my story there was interesting because when I started with the department, I love the clinical work. I would be a clinician all day, every day. It is so gratifying. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
But I started seeing a lot of gaps and barriers around we didn't have enough clinicians. So once we started, Hands in Harmony really kind of took off and we had access to, in the beginning, nobody had access and we had to really fight for it and we had to do policy and I wrote legislation and had to get really grassroots involved. Once that happened and we started to get more traction, there was more demand and then not enough people to meet the demand, and that's when that need for training program kind of came up.
All of this you're thinking about as an 8th grader, thinking, you know what? Probably write
I'm
legislation
really
to
glad I
promote this.
didn't know any of this in 8th grade, or I don't know that it's the decision I would have made.
I would think a highly unusual path starting in 8th grade toward this. Because music therapy, for me, I didn't
Nobody
know
knew
about it.
I didn't know about it until that
college.
day.
Yeah, but then college, and there was a
Right.
music major halfway through my program.
Right.
And started, and I'll bet you're finding that too. Because
Right, even the
there's not
students
as
now
much.
still don't always know. There's more awareness around it now that it's in different, they see it in the hospital, they see it in their school, they'll see our staff come in with a guitar on their back and wonder who they are.
Yeah,
They
right.
have a little more interaction, but it's not an everyday household name yet as a profession.
How do you connect with these students? Obviously, music majors and psychology majors.
Right,
Who
or
happen
just
to be crossovers, that do
Yeah. Yeah, or the music, because it is a degree of music, so they do have to audition to get into any music program.
So it's BMA.
It's a BMM, Bachelor of
BMM,
Music.
okay.
Yeah, Bachelor of Music in Music Therapy. So
Right.
it's a specific path. So when we started, we launched our first in 2020 and we unrolled the program 1 year at a time.
Right.
So in 2020 we had just freshmen. The next year we had freshmen and sophomores,
Right.
and freshmen, sophomores, juniors. So now we have our first graduating cohorts. We've got some really cool stats. So our first class graduated. Everyone that graduated passed to become a music therapist. It's a 5-year degree program.
Wow,
There's
okay.
1,200 clinical hours.
Certification, right?
And then you have to get certified, and then you have to get licensed. It's no joke.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
difficult.
yeah, right.
And it's a very rigorous program.
Right.
And so our students, our first cohort, all 6 passed their board certification on the first try. And our national average is 52% for passing and then 69% for passing on the first try. So
Yeah.
our program already surpasses the national average. Our second cohort's
Nice.
about to take the exam, and all of our students have been placed with jobs while they haven't even graduated and they
Right.
have job placements. And they're not all in Rhode Island. Most of them are going on to the states that they're from maybe, or
Right.
they're,
Yeah.
So we've gotten some really great traction for a very new program because like anything new, right, it takes time to
What percentage
build.
of them entered here in that program?
All of them.
All of them
Yeah,
entered.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah, they
that's
all
interesting.
audition or interview. Well, no, I guess that's not true. We have a couple of non-matric students, and so
Right.
there might be 10% of students that kind of have come in maybe a little bit later. They heard about it a little bit later. So there are a couple in each cohort, but
I'm
most
thinking as time goes on,
came here for the program.
that percentage may change.
I think so.
because
Yeah, they'll hear more about it while they're here and go,
Yeah.
I want to do that. Yeah.
Having been, up the hill doing the music
Right.
ed, and then kid runs into a course and saying, I don't want to take that course. So
Right,
they say, I'll be
right.
music performance,
Right,
Then
right.
they realize later on, they say, great, later on you're going to come back for a master's degree in music ed because you won't be
Sure.
able to make a living in music performance. But this is
hard, yeah.
an whole other path that
Completely, yeah.
that seemed for me, like a great path. It
Right.
turned out I was doing the same things anyway,
Right.
but in a somewhat different way, and that's why we wanted to talk to you. And hopefully we clarified some of that. And I'm hoping that we get comments from folks
Sure.
that we'll be able to keep building on this.
Yeah.
To be continued later. I'm not signing off yet. But we do ask questions which might elicit something that we haven't covered yet from your background, which is like what the first one you asked, what was your most memorable experience with the community music ensemble? It might be
Right.
just school band. Might have been the last time you played. Did you ever play in the
Right.
community?
Through college a bit, yes. And then when I finished and I was starting the clinic, the practice,
Right.
I found I ran out of time. By the time it happened very quickly, between 2003 and 2007, before it turned into a business and it was a private practice.
Right.
It was just me, and what kind of evolved and why it moved into something other than a private practice is the demand moved so quickly I couldn't keep up. So I didn't
Wow.
have any
What a
bandwidth
nice
for
problem.
anything external.
Yeah.
I was working 7 days a week. I
Right.
had maybe 8 or 9, but I mean, I loved it, but it was a different kind of problem. And my turning point, I kind of have turning points throughout each of, right? Like moments where you're like,
Well, sure. When you
make
when
or
you-
break moments,
you
right?
talked about that going.
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
a sudden, we need an administrator.
Right.
I have to go to the
Right.
dark side.
Right.
Right. Whatever you call
right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
This
that
moment-
transition was okay for you, right?
Yeah.
Was it just a desire to make this work
It's a
that
dis-
got
it's-
you through that?
It's, you see a need with the clients, and I've noted that I can't meet that need on my own. And so you have to kind of go, this is a need that's beyond me. This is a need that I see and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so you kind of keep, and that's where policy came from, right? Legislation came from.
Right.
Like, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than the people, any of us.
Yeah.
It's
What
a
about the insurance
systemic
side
need.
of it? How much does insurance cover that? You get
Insurance is tough.
diagnosis?
First
Yeah.
step is licensure, and so
Right.
that was fairly new. That was the legislation passed in 2014
Okay.
and started in 2015. So music therapy is a licensed health profession in Rhode Island. It's board certified nationally, but Rhode Island licenses through our Department of Health
Right.
that we have to maintain. So then the next step is finding and advocating, which again, I had no idea. This was unfamiliar territory for
Right,
me.
sure.
So once that happens, you need to advocate for each kind of pocket, right? Each clinical population. So early intervention, 0 to 3, we're credentialed through the state because of our license. So
Yeah.
then it's schools in the IEP, then it might be, we had some workman's comp, we have better success with insurance for out of state.
That's good. I was just going to ask, is
Yeah.
it like that for every state? Everybody, each state
Yeah.
has to go through this
It
process?
is, so I'm also the government
Certification.
relations rep for New England, because we went through a lot with Rhode Island, and we worked closely with our national organization for that state licensure. As each state kind of starts to explore legislation, and every state's different, and how every state's, even though legislation sessions aren't the same, right?
Yeah.
So you have to align like you would clinically, but I think you just take your strengths, like I approached it like a clinician, meet them where they are. What is
Right. Now,
legislation
what are
in
we
Rhode
gonna do to
Island?
make this
Now, what
work?
is it in Massachusetts? What does it
Sure.
look like in New Hampshire?
Yeah.
And so you kind of look
Yeah.
at it with that clinical lens.
Interesting. So back to the question: you sitting in what
In, like,
first,
8th
second, or
grade.
third clarinet?
Yeah,
What did
yeah.
you play? What were you playing?
First clarinet.
First clarinet.
Come on.
Okay.
Oh,
excuse me.
sure.
You know,
We hear this from everybody.
We have no way to do that. And then
State
No,
records.
First solo.
the back to the community band. Anna Maria was the community members were in that band, right? I think it's kind of small.
No, we had really small ensembles in Anna
Okay.
Maria. High school, I think what really, for me, our high school band
Which is where?
was Mount St. Charles, Woonsocket.
Oh no, I know
Yeah.
that. Right.
It's Mark
Yeah.
Blanchett
With
was my
Mark
band
Blanchett.
instructor, and
Yep.
he's the one that said the career path
Oh my
thing. That was
gosh.
Mark.
Yeah,
So
let's
he
try
was my
we have to
gateway
try
to
get
music
him on.
therapy.
He's retired now. I'm not sure
He's
where
retired,
he is.
yeah.
Is he still in state?
Yeah, I ran into him
Watch
not
out,
too
Mark,
long
we're
ago.
coming for
So
you.
yeah, and we went to Ireland with the band.
Yeah.
And we do so many different, he really did a lot to create opportunities.
Because St. Charles was such a major impact in Ireland. I can see why
Right?
that
Yeah.
attraction. Well, St. Patrick was not Irish, you know, so why,
I
you know,
kinda
like,
got rid of the
maybe
snakes.
St.
No,
Charles was, I don't
know. But he created a lot of opportunity, and what
Oh my gosh,
you
yeah.
notice as a junior high and high school student is the connections that are made in the band, right?
Right.
Like you have
Oh.
so many, that was, all of the teenage angst, I just channeled into playing and
Right.
into those moments, and that's how I connected to people. And then that's why I wanted to keep it. And that's why I felt passionate about creating those opportunities for people who maybe wouldn't customarily create those. You don't have to be first chair clarinet to be successful in a band.
Yeah.
It's not, to me, about that. It's about the connections that the music gives that other modalities don't.
Yeah,
And so
you were blessed to be in
yeah.
that setting, because that's the ideal, that you have the goalie from the state championship hockey team sitting next to a total nerd, sitting next to someone from, you know,
I'm
and
a
they
musical
all
nerd.
and they all get along.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's
No, that's
in
what it
that
was.
way, and that doesn't happen in typical lunchrooms.
No.
You know,
no,
they sit
no.
over, the jocks are over there, and the band kids are over there.
And our band was, because he created so many amazing opportunities, our
Right.
band was full of, I went to Mount St. Charles when the hockey team was in its legacy.
Oh yeah,
And so the hockey players were like
sure.
way up there, obviously,
Yeah.
right?
They all
They
play
were-
percussion?
They were in the band, no, trumpet, all
I'm
diverse
just- I was being
instruments.
silly,
No,
but
but
what?
no, really, they were all in the band, and
Right.
everybody was in the band. The
Playing
band
different
was
instruments,
playing
yeah.
different
Yeah.
instruments. We had a handbell choir that I loved.
Oh, can you
um,
imagine that? Yeah, I play in the handbell choir. You got a problem with that?
Yeah, you got a
You know,
problem.
Slick,
No,
I'll
it
check
was-
you into that wall.
Yeah, it was. The band was definitely, it was a place where everyone really engaged and interacted in ways I don't think would have happened otherwise. It was very,
No.
and so to have those opportunities and
I
experiences.
mean, for me to this day, I was captain of the wrestling team in Pennsylvania, which is a big deal,
Mhm.
and then I was drum major of the band. I wasn't even
Mm.
supposed to talk to myself.
Right,
But
right.
because
yeah.
those people just
people
in
don't
that
interact.
in that school,
Yeah.
no, they
Yeah,
were
yeah.
separate. How
Yeah.
dare you go and sit at the lunch table with them?
Sure.
It was very sad, but I think I kind of led the way. It's okay. It's
Sure.
all right to be good at multiple things. You know,
Yeah,
you
there were a
need to
lot
be
of
good at
athletes
things.
in our band. I did volleyball and I did varsity volleyball. And
Yeah.
hello, look at my height, right? So,
But
but
you're seated, you know what I mean?
Well,
It's kind of hard to tell. But
I-
I'm glad you brought us.
I'm tall, and so I was a middle hitter. But it allowed opportunities for both, right?
Yeah, right.
Because it wasn't, you had your band nerds and your job, it offered that one common ground.
Yeah,
and I
we're-
think that's what we
we
need
stay
in
in
a
that
community
holistic
band now,
thing.
right?
It-
Going
that-
back to your
Right.
goal and right, is creating
Yeah.
those opportunities, and
Yeah.
those experiences I'll always carry with me, and I see it in our clients, and
Yeah.
I see it when they don't have access. You know, can you imagine having music being the core thing that you love and are passionate about, and then being told, or having your child maybe being told, we don't know how to teach you, no fault of anybody, they don't know how to teach maybe
Sure,
someone who's
how to make a
nonverbal,
connection. I don't know.
but
Right.
that person is one of the most musical people I've ever met in my life, and so to not have a place for them to access instruction, that's a gap. That's not really met
Yeah, I
by
don't know
ed or
why, just
therapy.
personally, all the time, anytime a kid came in with some sort of disability, that got my juices flowing. There's
yeah.
gotta be a way to figure out how to
Oh,
get
yeah,
this
how to
stuff, you know, like,
access something,
that
right.
fired me up. I
Yeah.
know for other people, say, well, you can't play the instrument. No.
Well,
You-
I think they don't have the resources that they need. So they have 30 kids in the class, and they're trying to
Right.
rally all 30, and so they need more support to be able to offer some target. That person needs targeted instruction.
There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it, you know,
Yeah.
but I told my students, a 100-piece band, the shortcut isn't getting all 100 to be the same.
No.
It's
yeah,
learning
yeah.
all 100 and figuring out what you need to do to get each
Right,
one engaged.
right, right,
That's the
right,
shortcut.
right,
It's not, the
right.
shortcut isn't one way. You already answered number 2. How about
Actually, she's
this one?
answered everything.
No.
Well, you're welcome.
We have to go with the last 2. But this one might be good. You were already interested in music therapy.
Yes.
You were in the band in high school. Was there something in school, you know, in a band setting, that really triggered that too, that got you fired up more? Something that was a problem in the band that you helped solve?
I think there are a couple. I think seeing the connections was a big deal for me. I'd never done well with the whole bullying social hierarchy,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
That's something that I have a very low tolerance for in
Okay.
society in general. And so band is a place where I feel that it's equalized a little bit. I mean, now granted, there's
Yeah.
hierarchy in a band too, but I felt just that kind of acceptance. I think I would see in different community settings, when I was in high school, I would see, not really in our high school band, but I remember at church having someone, he in our parish had Down syndrome, who could sing and not speak, right? And
Right.
that just fascinated me, that people could
That's what I
do
was
different
after.
things with
That's
music,
what I was
right?
after, yeah.
And I didn't understand it. I was 15, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, I can't say that we understand it really now. We do a little bit, but brain's
Yeah.
complicated.
But you were tuned into that.
Yeah,
Whereas other kids
yeah,
would say,
yeah.
no, him. Well, remember, special needs.
Right,
When I
right.
was growing up, and Dave was growing up.
Yeah,
Where
offsides.
they were down at the end of the building. It was
Yeah.
in their own
Found a
room.
place to put them away.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And then they ate lunch
Yeah.
separately and stuff
Yeah.
like this. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, and I
Mhm.
felt terrible. Like, I would go out of my way to say hi, and there was something about that. So maybe
Yeah.
the same germs.
And then when you're clinical and you see your clients, I have a client who I'll never forget it. She was in second grade at the time. She's in her 20s now. She was the first. This was one of my first clients, and she was in second grade. We were doing music therapy, and she came in and she said, "All right, Miss Nicole, I have something we need to write a song about today." And I was like, "All right, great.
Okay.
Sounds great. I'm here for that, right?" And I said, "Okay." And she said, I realized that I'm never going to have a real friend." And I went,
Oh my gosh,
oh
now what
gosh.
do you do? Oh,
No, I guess she said, and so I think we need to write a song for my mom, because it must be really difficult to be the mom of a child who's not going to have a real friend.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Oh my.
Now she does. She's
Yeah,
an
right.
amazing.
This is why
she's
I don't do
incredible.
music therapy.
But-
I'd be a basket case.
It just is, when you see that though,
Yeah,
right? When you
yeah.
see, and that's to me, and that's why I'm involved in more systematic
Yep.
policy
Right.
and education and executive director and partnerships, is when you see a problem like that, that's a system problem, right?
Yeah,
That's, look at this, this isn't her, this is the society and system, and how can we support inclusivity around, and there were similar conversations about band, and there were access challenges for different clients we've had that, again, it's not the band directors, they're wonderful, they don't have the resources that they need, you can't
Wow.
do everything in those moments, so it's thinking and looking at how can we kind of bridge that, what are some opportunities to bridge that societal gap, and that's part of where that research comes in, I think. So it's creating access to programming, training, and then research all work together. They're symbiotic
Oh, yeah.
relationships to kind of moment toward that same goal of access and inclusion and meeting the needs of a vast majority of
And that-
humans.
Great answer. One more question.
Yeah, well, I have one more question, but you covered a lot of that in that.
You're right,
But,
yeah.
Okay.
But we talk about the future of
Yeah.
the community band. The question is, how do you see community bands developing in the future? But if we can connect it with,
Right.
what you are doing, what would you like to see in particular?
I would like to see interdisciplinary support, so those who are running the bands have access support, maybe even consult with music therapy so they get some more, we have different trainings, so combining them is going to offer more
Right.
access, and then, so interdisciplinary and diverse and divergent, so you have intergenerational, neurodiverse, access to anybody. The band, to me, is about those connections, those social connections. We saw during COVID, right, those social connections and how much they mean, and I think what I would wanna see is more access, so it's aging and young children and neurodiverse, regardless of development, and different genres, using music as it was intended, music organically, this is gonna be like my one nerd little plug, but music organically evokes movement. It just does. Classical music is included, but when you go to a classical music performance, you don't move, you don't dance, you don't,
Depends
if a
which one you
3-year-old
had.
Yeah.
if a 3-year-old were to go to any music performance, they'd be
Yeah.
dancing in the back, and that's what our
Right.
bodies are meant to do with music. So,
You are correct.
so changing that kind of culture around access to, and that kind of elite, like it's meant for, and I think that's what will bring more people in the doors, right? It's meant to enjoy
Sure, yeah.
through our bodies, because the second music comes on, our motor system's engaged, no matter what kind of music.
Yep.
So having that and tapping into that, because it's innate and it's neurologic, and then having the support of multiple, we might have performers and educators and therapists working together for that ensemble would be kind
No,
of
I
my
have the perfect
altruistic
answer.
ideal.
Embed a music therapist you know,
well,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Jamestown band, playing clarinet.
Clarinet.
You know, just embed her,
Nice play.
and that
Perfect.
ties the whole thing together,
Absolutely perfect.
and we start developing everything from there,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and publish, and present,
Yeah.
and you know, like and from on
Got
both
it.
sides. You know?
Right,
Okay,
right.
are we on? Here we go. Let's
I
do
have to
it.
finish
Oh,
this
you
program.
kind of into it.
Get to
This
the
is what
year.
it was all about.
Get to
wasn't
the
it?
year. Yeah, you're like, reel it in.
All right, so that's a good ending note. But we do always say one thing at the
Yeah.
end to end the thing.
Ready?
Just
Just
keep on playing.